Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another Instant Deck Tech. So, as you know, Wednesday means it's Wildcard Wednesday, and today's list, all the way back from Legacy, definitely fits the bill. So, this is Punishing Titania. Recently took Ikegami Akira to a top 8 finish in several Japanese Legacy tournaments, so big congrats to Akira on their finish with the deck. A quick reminder before we break it all down, if you enjoy this deck and you want to see it made into videos, take a minute, click the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, anything you can do to support your deck, because whichever deck is most popular gets a shot at being made into videos next week. So, Punishing Titania is built around Titania, Protector of Argoth, and Greater Gargadon. The basic idea here is Titania is a 5 mana 5/3, but it says when it enters the battlefield, you get to get a land back from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then whenever a land you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you get a 5/3 elemental token. So the idea of this is we have 4 Titanias, so we're going to find a Titania, get it on the battlefield, and then we hopefully suspend a Greater Gargadon, and this gives us a combo where at the end of our opponent's turn, we can just sack all of our lands, get a bunch of 5/3s, and just swing in and kill our opponent in one big shot. So that's the basic idea of the deck, is to assemble these 2 cards and use them to win the game. It's a really unique idea for Legacy. The thing is, 5 mana Titania is a lot more expensive than you'd think, so this almost plays like a Nick Fit type deck. You get some ramp, kind of get up into the big mana stuff, and then unlike Nick Fit, where you're kind of grinding out value with Thragtusk and Grave Titans, it has this combo that just lets you win the game on the spot. So the deck also has some ramp, which synergizes with Titania. So Orcish Lumberjack, a really weird old card, lets you sack a forest to add 3 mana, any combination of red or green to your mana pool. So if you play this on turn 1, on turn 2, you can play your land, tap both your lands, sack a land, and cast Titania with the mana you get from Orcish Lumberjack. After you have a Titania, it doesn't have a instant win combo like Greater Gargadon, but you can just sack a land every turn to your Orcish Lumberjack, maybe use it to cast some other stuff, and as you're doing that, you get a 5/3. If you cast Titania, the sweetest part of it all is turn 1 Orcish Lumberjack, turn 2, sack your land, 2 Orcish Lumberjack to cast Titania. You don't even lose a land, because when Titania enters the battlefield, you get that land back to the battlefield anyway, so super sweet synergy there. And then, in case you need to win the game on your turn and not sack all your stuff on the end of your opponent's turn, you can use some of your big mana to play a Sarkhan Vol, which +1s to give all of your creatures +1/+1 and haste until end of turn. So instead of waiting your opponent's end step, stacking all your lands to Greater Gargadon with Titania out to get a bunch of 5/3s, you can just do it on your main phase, plus your Sarkhan once, and boom, hit with a bunch of, what would they be, 6/4 elemental tokens, and just kill your opponent in the early turns of the game. In theory, if you can get a turn 2 Titania, you can have a turn 3 Sarkhan Vol and have 1, 2, 3 attacking 6/4s along with the Titania, so you can potentially just close out the game on turn 3 with your best draws. The rest of the deck, you get some more ramp. Tinderwall, you can sack it to add 2 red mana. You can also sack it to do damage to a blocking creature, but that's not why it's in the deck. It's basically an additional ramp spell, kind of Orcish Lumberjack number 5, not nearly as good. Deathrite Shaman lets you use some of the lands from your graveyard that you've been sacking for additional ramp. Also hates on opponents' graveyards, gains you some life. Veteran Explorer is pretty sweet. So this combos with Greater Gargadon. When Veteran Explorer dies, each player gets to search for 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield. So if you have a Gargadon suspended and you're trying to combo off, you sack Veteran Explorer first, search out 2 lands, then you can sack those 2 lands to get 5/3s with Titania. So it's basically +10 power if you can sack a Veteran Explorer to your Greater Gargadon with a Titania on the battlefield, and that's a pretty big chunk of damage. Green Sun Zenith is kind of the second part of the deck. So we use this to find our Titania, we can find our Veteran Explorer, but we also have a big tutor package. So on turn 1, we can Dryad Arbor for the turn 1 Rampant Growth. We can get a Caustic Caterpillar for 2 mana with Green Sun Zenith to kill an artifact or enchantment. Scavenging Ooze for more graveyard hate against Reanimator, gain some life against burn, Thragtusk to kind of shut the door on aggressive decks, and then Spearbreaker Behemoth is indestructible and makes creatures with power 5 or greater indestructible. So let's make sure your elemental tokens, your Thragtusk, your Titanias aren't dying in combat. They can block, they can attack. And then remember, the name is Punishing Titania, not just Titania, and that's because the deck has a second combo featuring Punishing Fire and Growth of the Burn Willows. So this just gives you repeatable damage. You can do 2 damage to something with Punishing Fire, then you tap your Grove, your opponent gains a life, you use the mana from Grove to get back Punishing Fire with its whenever your opponent gains life trigger. So basically, you just have infinite Punishing Fires. As much mana as you have, you can Punishing Fire. Great against creature decks, you can repeatedly shoot down creatures. Also, just go to your opponent's face in the late game. So that's kind of the deck's main removal plan. And then Abrupt Decay as additional removal hits planeswalkers, artifacts, creatures, most of the important spells in Legacy. And then Sensei's Divining Top and Sylvan Library give the deck some card selection. Make sure you're finding the right pieces at the right time. Your Green Sun Zenith, your Titanias, your Greater Gargadons. Helps you cycle through your deck. You got a lot of fetches, so you can reset these cards easily. You can even get back fetches with Titania. So lots of ways to generate card selection there. As far as the mana base, there's a bunch of fetches, a bunch of duels. I didn't have room to show all of them, but just know there's a bunch of them. That's kind of one of the synergies of the deck. Titania, crack a fetch, gets you a 5/3. Dual land, so lets you cast everything. A Wasteland and a Ghost Quarter also synergize with Titania because they're lands that go to your graveyard, also get to kill your opponent's lands, and then some basic lands to search out with your Veteran Explorer. In the sideboard, get a bunch more removal. Toxic Deluge and Golgari Charm are sweepers. Savage Alliance can also be a sweeper as well. Kill a bigger creature, and make all your stuff have trample, which is nice with your elemental tokens. Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast, fight against counter spells. Surgical Extraction for graveyards. Handwear Garrison, I have no idea why that's in the deck. There must be a plan for it, but I do not know what it is. Null Rod for artifact decks, same with Hull Breach, and then Thorn gives the deck a shot against fast combo, which would be one of this deck's weaker matchups, because why this deck is fast, it's not turn 2 Stormkill fast, but if you can stick a Thorn on turn 2, your opponent is going to have a really hard time comboing off with their Storm decks, which buys you enough time to win with your Titania plan. So anyway, that's Punishing Titania for Legacy, and that's been our Instant Deck Tech for today, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.